What's up, everybody? You've tuned in to Just Draws, the podcast that explores hot topics and various experiences among same-gender-loving Black men. In each episode, we offer raw, vulnerable, and stripped-down perspectives to give voice to our frequently overlooked population. Here, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep, peeling back the layers of our experiences as well as heteronormative stereotypes. Let's get into this week's episode.
All right, everyone, welcome back from the break. We're now going to have our game tonight, hosted by our resident game master, Brandon. So what do you have for us tonight?
All right, friends, it is time for another game of 86.
86.
Once again, that means one of these things we're all out of. We're deciding to be all out of.
Okay.
What's that?
I don't know.
I was just adding effects.
Oh,
okay.
I thought something was about to be said.
We were all doing homegrown special effects.
Mhm.
All right, so tonight we're going to take you to TV land. And this is probably going to be a lot harder than I know it's hard for me. I'm still deciding.
Okay.
We're going to see how y'all feel. So one of these shows has to get 86. Up on your roster, you have The Cosby Show. Next to The Cosby Show, you have A Different World. Down below from The Different World, you have Living
I already
Single.
know which one. I already know which one I'm getting rid of because I kind of know where you're going.
And next to Living Single, you have, of course, Martin. Out of these four sitcoms, beloved Black sitcoms,
Mm-hmm.
all beloved, one of them got to get 86. Which one is 86, Shouting?
I will start it off.
Okay.
And I'm going second.
Okay, great. John, I want you to go last if you don't mind, because you're our special guest.
Sure.
Okay. And I know you love TV. So all right. So I know what I knew what this lineup was going to be after we got to
TV land.
Yeah, what we got. So now beforehand, I just kind of know Brandon well enough that I knew what was going to be happening here. So I'm going to start. I'm going to give some suspense because I'm going to start with what I cannot let go of, and that is The Cosby Show. It's got to stay. It has to for me because there's just so many good lines and memes from that show.
That's right.
Oh my God. Happy Meal on a Plate.
Sweet.
Were y'all like this? Or were y'all like this with those apples? When Denise was told to go discover America.
That's right.
And of course, going down to Baltimore
To have big fun right here in my city
Everybody loves big fun.
with the wretched.
So I cannot let that go. And then second, that the other thing that has to say is A Different World. Because that show really did. That was so entertaining, and it came right on time for me, right before I was about to start college myself. So there was a lot of fun on that. The whole Whitley and Dwayne thing was like must watch TV. So they definitely had it on lock. That 7-8 Eastern Central time zone on Thursday nights. So Different World's got to stay. So now we're down to Living Single and Martin. So I have controversy with both of these shows, and it really goes back to how they ended. I don't like how either series ended at all. Those last seasons of both of those shows was just like, so Martin gave us some definitely just on the floor, laughing, crying, Living Single, Max in her crazy ass.
Her and Cosby at it.
Yeah, Regine and them wigs.
Right.
When Regine mom was on, it was always her bringing her back down to earth. Oh my gosh, those guests that they have. Like I remember when they had what's her name from the Jeffersons. Oh God, Isabella Sanford. When she was on, and they
And
had
she
her
was
answer
the
the phone.
secretary.
She was a secretary.
Flavor's
And
secretary.
she sat up there and answered that phone like Flavor.
Flavor. Right.
No type of emotion.
Come on, baritone.
Right. just oh my goodness. So I'm gonna have to say, despite all of that, that Living Single's got to be 86 because there's just too much going on with Martin and the memes on that show, the hilarity that you got from him and Pam. It was just really awesome TV and just funny. And between the two of them, just Living Single just can't hold it. So Martin and Cosby Show and Different World, they taking it.
All right. You ready, Darius?
Martin
Martin what?
is 86th.
God,
Oh my Lord, I wish I could reach through this. Ooh, you scream right now, shouty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Martin is gone.
Will be fat lady beat down in this building.
Because nobody better say nothing bad about Miss Jenkins. Is that how you
Right.
feeling right now?
Right.
Damn, Florida Evans. So, you know, for a lot of the same reasons Jeff said for the Cosby Show, like the Cosby Show, I grew up on the Cosby Show. The Cosby Show, when the Cosby Show was out, you know, my parents, I still had like bedtime curfew, but on Thursdays, I was allowed to stay up till 9 o'clock to watch the Cosby Show and A Different World. That was the only night I could stay up, but I grew up on the Cosby Show. Two things that are really super, super important for me in life are family and friendships. And so the Cosby Show gave me that family, you know, that nucleus kind of thing that I always wanted, that I desired, that you know, it was they loved each other and there was discipline and all of that stuff, but they had a really, really good time. And I loved it. So there's no way I could ever get rid of that. Even though, you know, we've had some issues with Bill Cosby, you know, I'm able to separate Heathcliff Huxtable and Bill Cosby. Right. So
Me too.
Heathcliff Huxtable was the man.
Yes, God.
A Different World was not around the time that it was before I started college. And so A Different World, of course, being a spinoff of the Cosby Show, kind of had a lot of the same sort of temperature and the same sort of humor,
and whatnot.
You know, and then, you know, when Debbie Allen took over as the creative kind of director or the producer of the show, we got a lot of things that people were not talking about, you know, right. AIDS and date rape and apartheid. Like we got a lot of these things and Black history, you know, and Black culture, the idea of mammy, you know, like a lot of that stuff. We were learning a lot of things through that show. So I absolutely, that was some of my exposure into a lot of Black culture. Even though we were a part of it, it was exposure to a lot of things that I was kind of shielded from, you know, being around that age. Living Single for me was, again, it was this idea of a friendship. It was, you have 6 individuals and eventually it became 7 that are all completely different and they're all kind of successful and have their own personalities in their own right, but they were able to operate as a nucleus and as kind of a family in that respect as well. So there were so many great nuggets there, and the Living Singles humor was very smart. And I think that's the kind of humor that I get into, is like they're telling jokes, they're saying things to each other that you really kind of have to think about. I mean, one of the funniest cold openings that they did was when Sinclair, Khadijah and Maxine were all in the living room of the house together, and Regine comes in this African outfit.
I know what you
and they busted out into like this Lion King like interlude of a song, and they got up and started dancing, and it was so hilarious. And it was all improv when I found out later that it was all improv. And I remember crying laughing at that, because I was like, these are the type of friends that I would want, like that would just come in and like on cue without saying anything
Right.
to anybody, just start in on something. So so things like that, and Sinclair and all of her isms, you know, that sort of thing. And then Kyle and Max going back and forth. I was, you know, I'm pretty quick witted when it comes to stuff like that. So to hear how they bantered back and forth was great. Martin to me was great. I did enjoy Martin a lot, but Martin got a little too goofy for me. And while I'm a fun guy, I'm a humorous kind of guy, I'll crack jokes and stuff like that, I'm not goofy. And so there were times where I was like, okay, like this is funny, or this was funny the first time you did it, but like now you keep doing it. Okay. And like you're not necessarily topping yourself with this. It's just like the same kind of gag over and over again. And I'm like, okay, like that was funny, but let's kind of go to something else. But we did get a lot of good stuff from them, but yeah, it just wasn't enough for me to hold on to it in the lineup that you gave.
singing in the background.
Singing in the background. Yeah, that one. I mean, the puppy gag. You know, when they
Oh,
went
the
out
dead
of
dog.
yeah. Now that was
Puppy
funny.
City.
I enjoyed that, but you know that was probably it. The other stuff, it was just kind of the same thing over and over again, and it was like you knew what to expect, and that was cool that you knew what to expect. But yeah, I got it. I got 86 Martin. That was simple for me.
Ooh, the
All right.
blasphemy in this dancery.
Mhm.
All right.
And this hateration, absolutely.
See. Okay. I'm gonna take Jeff's approach. Starting with what cannot go for me.
Mhm.
Martin can't go anywhere for me. Now, I remember in the same thing, like Darius just said, I had a bedtime, and the prime time lineup just go to 8 to 10 or whatever. So yep, Martin and then Living Single will come on. So I was always able to stay up and watch those. I think my bedtime was around 9 back then. But yes, no, Martin, whatever happened on Martin was exactly like that was all the talk the next day in school. And so, and I was in elementary school when Martin was coming on. So, like, especially during the heyday. So, like, me and my friends were obsessed with Martin. Like,
You're still
Martin's
obsessed with Martin.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I still love that man to this day. And I can put those reruns on and watch him like I've never seen them before. You put on when Shanae runs, when Gina has to work in Shanae's salon, it's like, you gave my rubber without neutralizer. And then, oh my God, everything that ensues from that is my favorite episode of Martin, hands down. But there are just so many of them. But like all the ridiculousness that would ensue during that episode, that would be like the entire talk of the next day at school. Like that is such an ingrained memory. So Martin ain't going nowhere. Single. Okay, I'm gonna say. I guess I gotta finally die on this sword.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna keep Living Single because you know why? Living Single was one of those shows that I think, like I said back then, when Martin and Living Single were going strong, I was so much younger, so I think a lot of their humor was like a little bit older. You know what I mean? But I was still able to grasp it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like too old for me to grasp, but they were like young adults, like adulting, you know, in New York City. Excuse me. So, it didn't have that same, like Martin was so over the top, anybody could grasp it. You know what I mean? Whereas like Living Single was a much more mature style of comedy. But I went back and binged Living Single as an adult, like on Netflix or something like that.
Yeah.
And it really showed me how much like they were, just like how forward thinking they were, and like some of the stuff that they were really tackling back in the 90s that I didn't realize were being tackled, and being discussed by them and just brought up. And like Darius said, like the really intelligent humor, the jokes that would have gone over my elementary school age head that then landed as an adult. And I just really appreciated that, because just like y'all know, I'm always talking about the Achilles and how much I really respect what they did with Girlfriends in the Game, and developing Black characters that got to build. And I feel like Living Single was not like kind of like the precipice of that. Whereas even though they didn't build the same way, because they were much more half hour sitcoms that got most of the things solved between in that half hour or by the to be continued episode next week. But I still respect it so much that they were doing this back in the 90s, that they were bringing things up and that weren't being talked about anywhere else. Now, my last one, I think which kind of plays off of that same vein, is I Gotta Keep a Different World. Because that's another one that I had to go back and rewatch so many of the episodes. And it's the same thing where it's like, they brought up so many issues and were so forward thinking. Yeah, and just the morale of it all, like the fact that they were set on the college campus, you know what I mean? And the legacy of it, the people that they inspired to go to college, and how they showed what college could be and all that kind of stuff. I think culturally that show is just like, I feel like we get it and we celebrate it, but I feel like it still doesn't get the just the base value that celebration that it should get, because of all the other stuff, regardless, like outside of the creative aspect and the actual television shows and the scripts, just like what that show did and represented for people. And I also think, and so with Cosby, the Cosby Show is another one I had to go back and watch. And I loved the Cosby Show growing up and everything, but I also feel like the Cosby Show, save for a lot of those memes and stuff like that, and like those things that we all know, the wretched, and stuff like that, and big fun. I feel like a lot of the Cosby Show could have happened on a show with a white family. And I feel like what was different about it, what was groundbreaking, was that it was a Black family, and the way the Black family was depicted. They weren't struggling like the good times and all that stuff before it. And it wasn't slapstick like the Jeffersons, you know what I mean? Like, even though the Jeffersons had money, but it was a very different approach for what Black families were, how Black families were depicted on TV. So I recognize that that's not lost on me at all. But I feel like I said, I just feel like a lot of that could have been a white family, and we wouldn't have, and nothing would have changed a lot. Like, I'm still mad that we haven't explained where the hell Sandra came from. Sandra and Denise, with them dark skinned ass parents, and they're all half Black asses. Like, I'm like, what? Like, this? Come on. But I know it was the 80s, whatever, blah blah blah. But that's why I say I feel like a lot of things weren't as Black specific. And I feel like the other shows have so much more things that are Black specific.
Okay. That's fair.
So yeah.
That's fair. And just one thing, I believe, Sandra, the actress, Sabrina LaBeouf, I think, she isn't that much younger than Felicia Rashad.
Right.
So that was another thing.
And Claire's mom was light-skinned like Denise and Sandra.
Yeah, but come on now. We ain't even gonna play that game.
No, we are gonna play that game.
Sabrina, that girl was clearly not Clifford Claire's daughter.
Yeah.
And neither was Denise.
We are not scientists on this podcast.
What I know is that
nor geneticists.
And I know we don't need to be.
And I have to say this now.
Slaves did not come over here light skinned.
Just in case someone from my family ever makes it to this episode, I have to say this because my mom's mom was dark skinned and my mom's dad was light skinned. So all of my uncles and aunts and my mom are every shade between me and you, Brandon. So it's possible. as possible.
No, I know, but Sabrina's not you. Sabrina LaBeouf and Denise are not you. Like they don't present like you
but
at
they
all.
could be in Jeff's family.
They could have been in my family, but yeah, my mom is lighter than me. So yeah,
and that's the whole point.
That's what I'm saying.
Are my color.
That's true, but I'm just saying that because my grandma was dark skinned and my mom was lighter than me. My grandmom was darker than you. So that's what I'm saying. You can get that from the kids because all of my mom's siblings are either light or dark. Like it does vary. So it's possible. So to
variance
me,
is fine, but
guess,
it has to. But that's because the option is there for the variance.
So okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I'm not going to belittle the point. I just have to say that just for my own purposes because I would probably get it back in some kind of way if my family caught this. So,
well, I mean, but that's the thing. You just explained why your family runs the gamut. That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So, John, let's wrap it up with you. You got the last shot as our special guest. We want to see what you would 86 out of The Cosby Show, Different World, Living Single, and Martin.
Okay. Well, before I go into my choices, I'm gonna call Lauren Lake. We'll do a fraternity to figure this out. He got it.
Come on, that's my show. Actually, I love fraternity court.
Same here. I would look. That's how I get through the day. I have to do fraternity court. Yes, God. Let's see. I'll tell y'all this. I'm pretty sure this was probably hard. Well, hard for some, but this was hard, y'all. I kid you not. The first two that I knew these were the ones I was going to keep because I know them the most. Number one, Living Single. That is a time that I think if you didn't actually live it, you wanted to live it. Mm-hmm. Each character singular. You know, there was room for so much diversity among just personality on that show. But I love Maxine Felice Shaw, just her love of food. She was just bold and brash, witty, you know, it made sense. And I'll tell you this, I was looking at some episodes on Sunday. There was never a hair out of place on Queen Latifah's head. And of course, you know, Regine with the wigs.
Right.
Sinclair.
Every scene was a new wig.
Everything. I'm sitting here like, how many wigs she got on this episode? I'll tell you this, and I might be in the minority. I look back at it. I was never really attracted to Kyle.
Okay.
Overton, oh, Jesus have mercy. I look at John Hinton and like, I get it. Then when he actually went bald, I'm like, you know what? This is looking now as a grown man. I'm like, it was always about Overton. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely Living Single. I could get lost in a marathon and just always just be there. I still remember the episode when they went to Club Xena. Regine.
That was like episode 2. I absolutely
right. Oh God. Then remember the pilot being filmed on the Family Matters set.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be around New York. Right. Oh God, I love Living Single. If they ever decided to do a revival, I would be right there for it. Number 2, A Different World. You know, now I'll say it from like this. Probably once they got rid of Lisa Bonet, Marissa Tomei, really changed it over to where Whitley was the center. That's when I really fell in love with it. But it, you know, it was inspiring to see what Black people could actually do in college. And it touched on so many issues that, you know, if you weren't talking about it publicly, you saw it there. I'll always be grateful for Debbie Allen giving us that. I'll also say it gave us narrative growth of every character. When you saw them start, you saw them grow. They were in completely different places at the end of the show.
Yeah.
I'll even go and say this. Daryl Bell, there was an episode in season 5.
It was after he was sitting on the window ledge and he didn't have a shirt on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That did. I looked. I was like, I had never looked at him any kind of way until that scene. I said, "Wait a minute now, hold on, Ron Johnson? No, that ain't the same Ron Johnson with the hat and the glasses." But apparently it was. But anyway, now I'll tell you, getting into number 3 and the number 4, it was hard. But halfway, well, not even halfway, but probably toward the end of when Darius was giving his explanation, there was a concept of, there's a culmination of where character arc ends, and that's kind of where you really could cut the show off. And that's kind of what informed my decision of what I did 86. But number 3 was the Cosby Show.
Okay.
At first, the Cosby Show was going to be 86, and I didn't have a clear reason as to why I was going to 86 it until that point, when I think of the culmination and the Cosby Show took us through, like when the kids got to a certain age, they brought on new casts, it continued to grow. It continued to be inspiring and very nuclear. I look at that, while probably not my run-to favorite, it has its place in history, not just for among Black people, but everyone. And I decided to 86 Martin, which I'm sure somebody somewhere is probably passing out. That's fine.
Somebody on this podcast is passing out right now.
Yeah. But when I look at Martin, great show. It's so damn funny. So many moments that you can point out. But when I think about it, the show could have ended when Martin and Gina got married. There never really was a lot of investment into Pam, Tommy, and Cole's individuals. It was always in tandem or in support of Martin or Gina. And it's like,
yeah,
you got 3 great characters right here that you really, when the focus did come on them, it was too little too late.
Very true.
If at all.
Those last couple of seasons were trash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, if Martin and his side characters, of course, all of them, if there was a way he could have played them interacting with one another, I'm pretty sure the show would have went on even longer. But I just think once it got to the point where Martin and Gina said I do, I'm pretty sure they wondered, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And then you relied on, guest stars and these convoluted stories. I was like, where are we really going here? Like, I never really believed the episode where Miles pre-Moesha came in saying that he was Martin's son.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell is this? Even I knew, like, we ain't gonna go this far now to say
it
this
was good casting though.
Very
Martin's son. Those ears.
Very. But I'll say this though. Can we all just go and say Gina was too good for Martin?
She was.
Oh, the character, yeah. Gina
she was.
Her name is not Gina.
like Gina, this is the guy. Hey, the heart wants what it wants, but I just never, not never, but now I look at him like,
yeah, she was too good for that. She was too good for Martin's antics.
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah, like for her to continue to pull up with them, quote unquote. Yeah. I never thought about that.
Do y'all think they would still be together now?
Hell no. Gina would have left his ass because she would have. I feel like Gina probably would have been very successful at her job, if not owning her own, firm. Martin probably would have said something crazy on the radio and got kicked off, or his
talk show.
Yeah, on his talk show would have got canceled. He would have been, canceled by the culture.
That talk show was doomed on the show.
So I think Gina would have left. They probably would have had 2 kids. They probably would have still gotten along, to a degree, but they would have got divorced.
Yeah. And even on the show, had they got divorced somehow, a revival would come back. Martin and Gina are divorced, and the revival would end with them getting remarried.
Yeah, but I'm so glad that marriage isn't like a end game for a lot of shows now.
Right,
You can't really do that anymore. You know, you have to do some type of character development beyond and story development beyond the marriage at the end. I mean, and I kind of just don't want to see that happen in other popular shows where it seems like it could be going into that direction. But I hope they don't do that.
You know, you bring up a good point. I can't even tell you the last time I saw a TV wedding. You know, unlike a sitcom, reality. Well, that's kind of common at this point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, may his memory be in honor with the Golden Bachelor and his wife headed for divorce after like 3 months of marriage. But oh well. But yeah,
Yeah, and I think a big part of it also is like, you know, because like now we have, I mean, everyone's so much more intelligent, like socially intelligent. And maybe it's not to say that people weren't then, but we had the conversations that we didn't have then, we have now. So like people understand that the end goal is just like that whole formula from the 90s sitcom, like Family Matters, a beloved show, you know what I mean? Everybody loved it. It's familiar, we all love it, but like everything is solved in a half an hour. And then the next week, you know, like it's a whole new thing going on in life.
A reset.
There was no character development, whereas nowadays we can actually, you know, like follow characters and actually fall in love with characters and, you know, relate.
See them grow.
Right. Which is what
change.
I always give that credit to those damn kills. I feel like I said, I feel like a Living Single touched on it, but it was still a part of that time frame where it wasn't exactly a dramedy. It was still a comedy. But like by the time Girlfriends came along, like those girls were damaged, flawed, all kinds of toe up. You know what I mean? Like, and they were real people. We finally got to see real people weekly who are Black, you know what I mean? Go through ups and downs. And it's like, that was a game changer, I feel like, in as far as Black content, definitely.
Indeed. And Laura didn't deserve Steve on Family Matters. I'll stand by that.
Laura didn't deserve Steve. Oh, you mean like she didn't deserve to be tortured?
No, she didn't deserve that man pining for her all that damn time and putting up her shit.
What shit? He was a walking disaster. No, like no, who doesn't?
He might have.
Whoever deserves him is a horrible person.
Like, he was earnest in his walking disasterisms.
Wait, say it again.
He was earnest in his walking disasterisms.
Yeah, keep your earnest. Keep your ass out my house. Tearing everything up. We good.
He didn't deserve him. I'm sorry. He should have stayed with Myra and moved on.
Yeah, he should have. Yeah, he was a mess. And I actually saw there's this show recently that was on, like it was doing, I can't remember if the show was behind this. Oh yeah, it's behind the scenes of like real shows. So they talked to some of the people who were stars of shows back in the day. So they talk about what was really going on in their life. I can't remember what it's called, but they were talking about how like seasons in, like by the time they had gotten older, Laura, Steve, and Eddie and all, like how like they just were so unhappy with the show, especially Steve, because it was like they were still having him be this bumbling idiot, and this motherfucker's grown now. You know what I mean? And he's still playing a bumbling college student. Yeah, like, you know, and like still has the same pants that he had when he was
in junior high,
in 6th grade, chasing Laura, you know, like. So yeah, it was like a lot of tension, but you know, this work. People were at work, so what you gonna do?
Yeah,
we all complain about work.
All right, cool. Well, Brandon, thanks for giving us another one of your games. Looking forward to the next one. That one was actually pretty difficult. I had to really kind of sit and make sure that I was good with my choices, and I did still stand by what I said, even though everyone else did have good justifications for their choices.
Yeah, it was pretty simple for me.
He's a hater,
right? He's a Martin hater.
Hold on, wait. What did you 86, Jeff?
Living Single.
Living Single.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we had 2 Martin, 1 Living Single, and 1 Cosby. Okay.
Yep. All right, cool deal. Well, I want to just take a moment to thank John for visiting us today. I really appreciate him coming on to the show.
Applause track.
Yes.
John ain't all that. Ain't all
that. Yeah, so thanks for hopping in, and we look forward to you having another opportunity to come sit with us, and hopefully Sean too when we have the full cast. So thank you so much. All right. With that, I'm going to close out the show, and until next time, thank you for listening to Just Draws. Good night.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Now be sure to like, share, and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and Spotify at Just Draws. That's JUSTDRAWZ. Until next time, as you interact within your various communities, remember to be like Draws and don't be afraid to offer a little bit of support.